mind is creating the idea of itself based on outward data, on the data of the senses, on the data of the ideas, everything it collects from experience. It creates some self-image and starts to refer to itself through that image. When there is self-knowledge, when we finally know ourselves as this directly, there is no need anymore for any self-reference. The mind can rest. It doesn't need to sustain any self-image. It is meaningless. If we look at our lives, we will see that we know ourselves non-directly. Basically, what we know of ourselves are just concepts. Just ideas. They're all conclusions. They're all indirect. If we could quote the mind, it would be something like, there is a sensation of sight, of feeling, of smell, of memory. Therefore, I am. There is no direct knowing of itself. It is always dependent on some outcome outwardly. It is a logical conclusion, not a direct acknowledgement. That is why we are so hurt. That is why eventually we feel this yearning, this longing to be unified, to come home, just to be. Because this indirectness is not enough. We start to feel this, the pain of it, the suffering of it. How much a prison it is to be just an idea, a conclusion, always dependent on something, never able to truly let go and rest within itself. Because it needs to sustain itself in order to come to this conclusion every moment that it is here. Such a paradoxical mechanism. Being here and not knowing directly that we are, only through some kind of outward output, only through some kind of deduction. That is the pain of separation. And when that pain is severe, then the mind is mature and it is ready to investigate itself, its very own standpoint as the observer, as this separate self. It starts to look there. It no longer externalizes the reason for its suffering and pain. For the mind to look upon itself and to truly see what are all those positions, what is the sense of I, there must be a real doubt and a real trust. Doubt in the reality of this I and trust in everything else. If there is no trust, then there is fear of letting go, because there is letting go in that seeing. That seeing means there is distance to see. There is freedom to see. Mind cannot hold on to that position of itself and see this as a position. As long as it holds on to the sense of I as real, it cannot expose it as unreal. So there must be doubt in that sense of reality of this separate I. And there must be trust in everything else, in existence as a whole, so that this investigation can take place. Otherwise, the self-preserving mechanisms of the mind will not allow it. Eventually, there must be complete trust so that the mind can die to its own references, to its own dispositions, to the illusion of the reality of it, and completely surrender to this conscious beingness, which is. You are not an idea. You are this already. This undefinable presence which is conscious of itself. But the mind has no way to pinpoint this, to refer to it as anything. And as long as it craves definition, reference, and is afraid of this space, which is undefinable, of this silent transparency, this will not be acknowledged. That's why this maturity of the mind is necessary. In this maturity, it is able to see its own games, its own illusions, the very illusory nature of all its dispositions, of all its self-references. And then it can just let go into this silence of beingness. No longer interfere, no longer interpret. We already are so much, so fully, so wholly, so completely, that this can never be defined by any point of view. It is whole. It is alive, divinely alive, divinely whole. This is not an object. It is not something that can fit any category. It is life itself, existence itself. Therefore, the limited point of view from which the mind looks has to be exposed, and through that exposure, through that seeing, dissolved, so that only this remains without any illusory external interpretator, observer, then we are one, then we are whole, then we are this unity of life, of bliss, of existence, self-conscious, self-aware,